All right, well, good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and get started. I think there's some other folks that will likely join us, but thank you all for coming this morning. We are a small but mighty group, and we'll have a chance to talk in depth with our speakers today about all things cybersecurity, or maybe not all things, but many things, cybersecurity and the importance of cyber insurance. So I'm going to show just a few slides to kind of get us started, and then I'll turn things over to our main speakers. All right, can you all see that okay? Yep. All right, so just a couple things as we go through today. I'm going to give a few quick reminders about our sort of etiquette here, and then tell you a little bit about what's coming up at the foundation, just some things folks should know. And then we'll move into the main presentation portion with Jeff Wynn and Jeff Nosenzo as well. So in terms of just etiquette, just mute your mic when you're not speaking, if you would. We are recording this, and so it's helpful for those who go watch it afterwards that are able to hear and listen well. And then you are welcome to put some questions in the chat, which we'll be monitoring. Since we're a small group, there'll also be a chance for you to just unmute as well and ask some questions. But if you have a burning question while we're talking, go ahead and put that in the chat too. And then a couple things we just wanted to highlight for folks that are coming up for us. As always, any of our Zoom Third Thursday sessions are recorded, and the PowerPoint and recording will be posted to our website. Then our next meeting will be in June. We're still finalizing the topic for that, but it will be a Zoom session. So keep your eyes out for an announcement about the specifics that we'll focus on there. And then a few other things that are coming up just for you to be aware of. Hopefully you all are registered already for our Give Local NRV Annual Giving Day. If you are not, please make sure to do so by next Thursday, May 25th. Our grant application opens on May 31st online. That again will be for operating support grants of up to $4,000. So make sure you take a look at that. And then we've got a bunch of things going on related to the Give Local NRV Giving Day. Our early giving kicks off on June 1st, and we're going to have a celebration that day at the Maroon Door, where you can come by any day, and a percentage of what you get that day, food or drink, will come to support the community foundation, specifically Give Local NRV. And then, of course, the Giving Day itself is from noon on June 28th to noon on June 29th. And you'll be hearing a lot of stuff from us if you are registered over the next month, just getting you ready for that Giving Day. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and we will turn the program over to our main speakers. So just a couple words about why we thought we would do this today. I should say the Community Foundation is really fortunate to work with Jeff Wynn and his team at New River Computing that support us in terms of our IT support services. We could not be happier with all the support that they give to us. And then we also work with Jeff Nosenzo and Brown Insurance on all of the different kinds of insurance we have, including cyber insurance. And so as we've been working with both of these partners, we really realized that there's a lot of good information to share about the importance of cybersecurity for a nonprofit organization like ours, and then why it's always important to make sure that you do have cyber insurance, and the importance of how you answer the questions and how you get that set up. So with that, I will turn it over to Jeff Wynn and Jeff Nosenzo, and you guys can take it away.
Can I just say something, Jess?
Yeah.
I've just sent you a message. I just got a message through the chat about using a bot to record the meeting. I've sent it over to you. Obviously, I'm not clicking on it, but I thought it was. Is it a test? Are you testing us?
I just got that too. It's from Eileen Dunn, and I don't.
Yes, me too.
It's a direct message, so it didn't come through the chat. So goodness gracious, sure, we sure need some cybersecurity.
So nobody click on it.
Okay. Oh, I'll click on anything. I'm gonna click on it right now.
Well, I'm glad we got the right people here to help us with this then.
Yeah, Eileen Dunn.
Yeah,
Well,
okay,
I'll look at that later on though.
okay.
Jessica, thanks for having us. We're real big believers in Community Foundation's mission and all the nonprofits that you support in New River Valley. So it's really great to be here. It's great to help you all out. And I was telling Jessica earlier that if anybody gives me a platform to start talking about this stuff, I'll take every advantage of evangelizing cybersecurity. And it'll be great to go around the room briefly and just get one or two things from each of you regarding what you're hoping to get out of this presentation. So hopefully Jeff and I can address all the questions. I've got a few slide decks we can go through with some information that I can share afterwards. Jeff, what do you have to say? You're up next.
Yeah, no, I mean, I echo what you said. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to talk with you all. Certainly appreciate all you do for our community. As far as just cyber insurance in general, yeah, I mean, it's something that that is out there. You know, we're hearing about it quite often. You're seeing it in the news. So and so gets hacked or their data gets taken away. I mean, it's happened to big companies, but more importantly, it's really happening to a lot of smaller individuals. So you probably aren't hearing any bit of half of what's actually happening out there. So it's an important piece, and I appreciate you guys just giving the opportunity to talk a little bit about it and see hopefully help you guys learn a little bit more about it.
Awesome. It does look like that is a legit application. I don't know where it came from for the transcription, but we'll see how it
He
goes.
says it's from an app from Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
What didn't a local school district just get hacked and shut down?
It did, Jamie. Franklin County had to close schools Monday because of a ransomware attack.
Ransomware, that's right.
Yeah. So they got crypto locked, couldn't get their data. Who knows what was exfiltrated during that event? Because oftentimes during a crypto lock, an advanced persistent threat actor has been present in that environment, possibly for many months, exfiltrating the data. So
yeah, we got attacked at Tech as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working for the Moss Arts Center, we got crypto locked, which luckily everything was backed up, so we were able to. There was no long term, but there was a lot of effort in dealing with it.
Yeah, even that downtime, lack of access to systems, it's expensive, right? One of the things I noticed with the Franklin County attack was the words that the superintendent was using to describe the event. Those were professional words. And so I think that, Jeff can speak to some of the resources available when you're covered by cyber liability insurance, but with the words they were speaking and the actions they were taking, my thought was they immediately contacted probably their attorney, first thing, right? Get your attorney, get that attorney-client privilege involved. But the words that the super was using sounded like they were coming from a PR firm. And that's one of the things that having cyber liability insurance can help your organization with is a ton of different things, including PR. Jeff, do you want to talk about a couple of different factors people may not be aware of when you have that kind of coverage?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing I look at, especially when you talk about a solid, robust cyber insurance type platform, I go back to just taking an inner look at your business or what you have and thinking, okay, so let's just pretend that you do have some type of cyber threat or event. I look at one, so who are you going to point to in the office and say, hey, this is what's happening. We need to fix this. Are they going to be knowledgeable enough to do so? Two, let's talk about the time that's associated with that. And so as you're pulling that person or yourself away from what you're normally doing, how much time is that taking? How much time is it taking you to learn what's happening or how to respond to or fix this issue? And then three, obviously the funds that are either lost in doing so, where you're not being able to put your time towards something else, or maybe something's getting pulled out of your account. When you talk about cyber insurance, you're buying that policy for coverage, but you're also getting with that a tremendous amount of resources that do this all day long, right? It's what they are trained to do. It's they're helping people every single day that are being attacked or having these cyber attacks or threats on their business or their association. That's what they do. So why not have a resource that when you see something wrong, like Jeff said, you might contact your attorney, you might contact those that are handling your IT, but you're now contacting these folks that are trained professionals to say, all right, here's your steps. You're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to help you take care of this. I mean, I don't know many, especially small businesses, because, you know, many people wear a lot of different hats, but not many people specialize in this type of thing. So why not give yourself a shot at having some resources available that should this happen to you? Because it's they say it now, it's not if, but when it's going to happen. Now you've got a huge deck of resources that you can use that are specialized and trained to help you in this situation.
Great stuff. So we never did go around the room seeing what people want to talk about, other than that event in Franklin County, which I think was very interesting. So let me start somewhere. Scott, do you have anything in particular you would like us to speak on or discuss?
Not really. I mean, this is all pretty new information. I mean, beyond the idea of, yes, big banks and everything get attacked, but to see that little guys are getting attacked now, and that there are protocols in place that could be helpful with that's just new information. So I don't have any further questions.
Yeah, we all have targets on our back of varying sizes. But when it's possible to automate attacks, you know, we're all, you know, personally could be a victim. For our company, big governmental organizations can be victims. So it's important to take some common sense steps. We could talk about some of those. Jamie, did you have anything else besides the Franklin County thing you would like us to talk about?
Yeah, I was the director of finance for a nonprofit in Charlottesville before I moved to Blacksburg. And we looked at cybersecurity insurance as part of our package. From memory, this is 5 years ago. It seemed too expensive at the time. So that's one thing is cost, the cost versus benefit. The other thing is I'm on the board of Instill Mindfulness, so I'm sort of representing them today, as well as being on the board of Community Foundation. So I'm looking at, I mean, we have a whopping 2 employees. So, and we do a lot of stuff where we've moved very much online since COVID. So our exposure is much greater. So talking about different levels of exposure would be interesting to me. Thanks.
I'm happy
Maureen,
to want to jump in on some of that stuff already. You want to wait till the end?
I was going to make a list maybe and then address each of these in turn. Thank you for that, Jamie. Laureen, do you have anything?
Yes, I'll try not to cough.
Me too.
Well, I'm with the YMCA at Virginia Tech, and we get a lot of emails from what looks like our Salesforce that we use, or different Rackspace, whatever. And it's just constantly full of, you need to secure your account now, click here. And, you know, occasionally that's happened. And I mean, I don't know if there's anything we can talk about that helps us to, one, not receive all of those things. I did recently have to become an IT expert, which is a big joke, really, but I had to pour through a lot of information and with our website. And, you know, the interesting thing is our let's see, the Rackspace people will tell us what to do to secure it, and then we have to take it to the web people who then tell me they can't actually do that. They're not allowed to, but they can walk me through the process. It's just, that was a lot of time there. But, you know, so now I have something that comes to me every day from Google. That's, let me tell you what it is. And maybe this isn't what you want to know right now, but I'm just wanting to know really what else can be done to avoid this. Oh, I get these little DMARC reports. I had to set up this no reply DMARC support, and now I get like 10 emails from them a day to let me know it's working. I don't know. It's a lot of fun. So
welcome to IT.
Yeah, something I never thought I'd be doing.
I have a couple slides we can talk about that. Dina, what about you?
I work at the Y also, and I was a source of agony for Laureen recently when I clicked on something.
I was not going to mention names, Dina, but you messed up.
Yeah, that's all right. So this is very it's uncharted waters for me. And I feel like I need a life jacket just to keep me above water. I don't need to become an expert, but something that like best practices or something that would have a layperson just kind of safe and secure, and not overwhelmed by things that need to be done. And I'm wondering if also we can have more of those, meetings or workshops, kind of walk us through some basic things, over time. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Dina. I definitely have some thoughts on that matter as well. Charlie, how about you?
No, sir. This is all brand new to me. I have a tiny little nonprofit that's still just kind of crawling up into existence. So I'm still learning about this at this point. So whatever you guys going to be covering is all brand new ground for me. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Charlie. B?
I really don't have anything in particular. I'm just here to learn from the participants. I don't know what I'm going to get out of it, but I'm just here to learn.
Fantastic, thank you. Lindsay, what are you doing here? Do you have anything you want us to talk about?
I'm just here for some moral support.
Oh, thank you. Lindsay is our service manager, project coordinator, New River Computing, and I'm happy that she's here for the moral support. Jessica, Laura, was there items that you were thinking about?
I think on my end, when I attended the session that that you held for some of your clients, what are kind of the basics that we can all do as nonprofits, even if we're not particularly sophisticated, or that can help protect us. So, you have preached multi-factor authentication to us, but there's, certain things that can be done that would be helpful. And then the other thing I just thought was useful is when we were renewing our cyber liability insurance, there were a lot of questions on there that I was not sure about, but I did learn that you have to make sure that you are accurate when you are writing that application, so that you can, that coverage can be triggered if there's a problem. So again, kind of, we went to you all to say, what exactly is this referring to? So just kind of helping folks understand the resources that are out there and the basic things that a cyber liability insurance policy is going to require of the nonprofit in order to ensure that you're trying some basic protections.
Awesome, thank you. Laura?
Yeah, I was just kind of wondering about identity protection and what exactly that's supposed to do. Like, is it supposed to stop attacks, or is it just supposed to notify me that I've been attacked and woe is you?
Okay, sounds great. I've got a list of 6 different things. Did I miss anybody? The first one came from
I have a couple more.
Okay, please.
One, I was just remembering that the Virginia Tech attack was because of a third-party software vendor that our IT folks use to push updates.
The Kaseya supply chain attack.
Kaseya, that's it. I was trying to remember the name of that. And then the other one you just brought up was the multi-factor authentication. There are multiple authenticators out there, and is one better than another, or are they all pretty much the same?
Awesome.
Thanks.
Happy to cover that ground. I think, Jeff, the first one was on you. Jamie was interested in different levels of exposure, different maybe regimes that somebody might be in for cyber liability, and was concerned about cost. Maybe you could address that one for us.
Yeah, so I could spend probably a day talking about just that. But realistically, 5-10 years ago, cyber was a thing, and carriers started coming out probably a little bit before that too with cyber insurance. And at that point in time, they were giving a lot for very little cost because there was very little claims. And so then what happened was these attacks started taking on more and more, and these insurance carriers were paying out more and more. And so when they're paying out more and more, those premiums have to go up because they have to have money to pay for that. And so, yeah, so certainly that the cost for these things has grown dramatically. That said, it is starting to kind of, for lack of a better term, maybe stabilize a little bit. But really what it comes down to is it's important to have something. And most carriers now, depending upon who it is, they're going to throw a little bit in there, or at least offer a little bit on the general policy that you have. Now, still, most people are like, no, it's cool. I'm not going to get hacked. I don't need this type of thing. My thought is, if they're offering it, certainly look at the cost, weigh that. Sometimes the cost might seem, high. I mean, sometimes it's as little as $450, which I know that number can sometimes seem large, but let's break that down monthly and it looks a little bit better. I just had a client decline. It was just on a basic policy that we did for them. They're like, nope, don't need cyber. I think it was $383 for the year. That said, when you really start getting into the more robust coverages, obviously the costs go up. I think there's something to be said for a little bit of something is better than nothing. But depending upon what you have, what kind of data you have, who your clients are, that type of thing, you might want to go more robust. And as you go into those, as you go that direction, costs do increase, the questions are going to increase. But the biggest things that need to be in place in order for us to even have the conversation, generally speaking, about cyber insurance and looking at it for a client, is that wonderful, in my mind, 3-letter word that's already been brought up, MFA, multi-factor authenticators. You got to have that. Most people, I could be wrong, but you probably are using that somewhere personally, whether it's when you access your bank account via your phone or something like that. You are going to continue to see this, and I'm glad that you will. But as far as your business is concerned, you should put those things in place, because a lot of times, as far as an insurance carrier and quoting these things out, as soon as you say, oh, actually, we don't have a MFA, they're going to say, well, we're going to decline to even provide you a quote. Then the other side of it too is looking at recovery of your business data. If you don't have that data being backed up and you can't really access that within 10 days of something, that's another piece that we're going to look at when trying to offer either coverage or terms, and it can be a driver. So that's another piece to be mindful of. But the biggest thing is putting these things in place. I know some, like I think one of the gentlemen that already spoke said, they've got a small nonprofit. That's fine, and that's great. MFA, and Jeff, you might be able to talk more to this. It's really not that expensive, I don't think. And as far as the folks that are out there, I know there's different applications for it. I think, again, he can speak more to it, but again, something is better than nothing. So starting to do these processes and put these in place are just going to help benefit you. Even if you don't get cyber insurance, that's fine. You're still going to be helping, at least making it harder for somebody to get into your data.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. That's great. Can you all see my screen? Does it look like a PowerPoint deck? A couple of things come up here. There's just a sample of a questionnaire for getting this coverage. So I don't know how the whole insurance industry works, but if we can check all those boxes, you're going to be a much more desirable entity to be underwritten, and probably a lot cheaper. So when thinking about a couple of folks about best practices, a lot of that's going to be built around what are the questions. And I'm quite sure Jeff can provide you with samples. And so just looking at these, up-to-date active firewall technology, yes or no, a chief information security officer, other individuals assign responsibility for privacy and security practices. Going through these questionnaires, these self-assessment questionnaires from the insurers, and seeing what you can check yes or no is certainly one of those ways to implement best practices. Now, if you get like a 5-page questionnaire with dozens of questions, and you're not gonna be able to do it all overnight, but maybe, lop off of one of them every quarter, a couple of them every quarter, and do those. And you'll eventually not only be able to be underwritten, you'll have a much greater security posture in your organization. Now, anybody on this call, or anybody who's going to watch a recording, or anybody that Jessica can bend an ear of, if you get one of these questionnaires, I am happy to just come sit down with you and I'm, for free, answer these correctly. You can be denied if you end up misrepresenting your security posture on these questionnaires to be insured. So we definitely don't ever want to be in that boat of having the wrong answer. And again, these questions will guide you on your organization's security journey going forward. We did talk MFA, and there was a question about MFA, and I do have this slide here. So basically, multi-factor authentication. It's something your password, I hope you know your password, and something you have, and that could be a phone, it could be a token like a little YubiKey USB stick in your computer, it might be a text message, it could be something like Google Authenticator. There's any number of ways to get that second factor going on. If there is a silver bullet in IT, in information security, it's multi-factor authentication. Something something you have. Many of you probably bank online and have to get a text code from time to time to stick it in. I would like to encourage everybody on this call and all your family members and everybody you work with to go through and try to multi-factor everything you have. Okay, so that means having a unique, strong password. Long is good. A phrase is good versus 8 random digits on a keyboard. Unique, and then turn on multi-factor, and I'm talking about your Twitter, your Facebook, your LinkedIn, everything you possibly can. Because as many times as I'm going to ask everybody to make their passwords unique, they're not going to do it, right? They're going to reuse passwords. So if you have that second factor in, if I were a bad actor and I knew your credentials, it would be very difficult for me to get into your information. There's ways around that. If I have control of your computer and I can hijack a cookie, that gets into serious hacking. The other way that can be circumvented is what's called MFA fatigue. And the largest organization that we work for fell victim to this. And what was happening was, where's my phone? So they were kept getting pushes. It's like, is it okay if I log in? No, okay. And finally they missed. They missed saying no. And the bad actor got on their systems for several hours. The bad actor was appearing to just send spam around, targeting folks to gift card or something like that. So that's what multi-factor authentication is. Anybody have questions about multi-factor or these insurance questions?
I guess, Jeff, I would just ask, you've talked in the past about the different ways that you get the multi-factor, the authenticators, the text message, the kind of key fob thing, and you had raised, at least with some of your clients, about what's, that the text message version it's good to have something, but it's preferable to have either an authenticator or a key fob. Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So this is a YubiKey, and it is the second factor. And if you set up your multi-factor with the YubiKey, you can just jam it in your machine and use that. Something you have, something your password, something you have the YubiKey. The implication with the text message is that you have your phone and can receive a text message. There's other ways to receive text message, like if you have a Vonage account, you can text it and log into a browser and get that second factor. So on my phone, I've got probably 5 or 6 different authenticators. Here's a Google, and it's just rotating numbers. Maybe y'all can see that, maybe not. But every minute it changes numbers, and I put that number in. Well, I can circumvent this by either impersonating or stealing my SIM card and putting it in another phone and have access to my multi-factors. But man, it sure makes it hard on the bad guys. Text messages, I get, I've got one from my Ring here, and that comes in via text message. I like that less. I don't like the pushes. So previously, Microsoft had been pushing authentications using Microsoft Authenticator here. I don't know if you can see that, but it would just say prove. And that leads to vulnerability of that fatigue attack. Just no, oh, hit the yes button. Now you've got to enter a code back into your Microsoft two-factor authentication. So that eliminates that. Jamie, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, I wondered about some of the sites, once I use my multi-factor authentication, then they'll say, do you want to authorize this for the next 7 days? Is that something, is that foolish? I guess is the question.
That is a great question. So I never do that, or try not to ever do that with anything that has remotely sensitive information, because what happens when you say yes to that 30 days or 7 days or whatever it is, there is a expiring cookie placed in your browser history that allows you to log in again. If I'm a bad actor and have access to your machine in some manner, perhaps somebody clicked on a link inadvertently and I installed a package on your machine and I can see what's on your hard drive, I can steal that cookie and log into your bank just by putting that cookie into my browser. I don't have to put a password in. I don't have to put a multi-factor or anything. So when you say remember my password, be sure you're remembering your password for innocuous sites. But I'm still thinking it's probably a bad idea, even if it's Reddit or YouTube or whatever. If I can get at a minimum, I can cause you embarrassment if I get on your social media. At a minimum. At a maximum, I could probably find some more of your friends, maybe get access to more computers, move laterally in your friend network. So it's never a good idea to remember that, to remember that password. So what can you do in that case? If you've got dozens and dozens of websites you log into, how do you make sure all of your passwords are unique? Well, there's password managers. LastPass is the one everybody knows about, and they had a breach recently. There's Keeper, there's Passly, there's any number of products out there that are probably better than LastPass in terms of their security culture. We had been using LastPass at New River Computing, and we've spent about 3 months figuring out a replacement for that, and we're going to abandon that particular ship. Again, speaking for me personally, I'm not a fan of how they reacted to that breach. I don't think they were open and honest and transparent about what had transpired there.
Yeah, and Tech uses LastPass, or at least they did. I just retired, but as of last December, they were still using LastPass.
Right. So that's another piece of that thing. What can we do? Get a password manager and use it. I believe there's a ton of free ones out there that can be chosen from, as long as you're using it as a personal basis. I don't know what it looks like to use within an organization, but that's I would strongly encourage these password managers to make sure your passwords are complicated and unique, and you don't have to remember but one password. And
what about Google?
Those password managers are something you want to be multi-factored, please. I'm sorry, Jamie.
Oh, no, sorry to interrupt. What about Google? Because when I go to set up a password in the Google browser, they offer a complicated password that then they remember. Is that a safe password manager?
Previously, the Google Chrome had stored those passwords in plain text in memory once it had launched. And I don't like that at all, because again, if I have access to your computer, I have access to what's loaded into memory, I have access to everything. I've got the keys to your kingdom there. So other authenticators have that encrypted. It is possible that Google has changed how they handle the passwords since I last knew that's how things were. So it's possible they could fix that one. That's great stuff. Laureen was asking about phishing. So there's a couple of different kinds of phishing. There's smishing, getting it, text message phish. That's happened. I was spear smished 2 weekends ago. 3 New River Computing employees and the spouse of a New River Computing employee had sent a text posing as me from a number that wasn't mine. Nobody fell for it. That's one. Smishing is one. Phishing is just sending to tens of thousands of addresses, maybe hundreds of thousands, hoping somebody will click a link. There's spear phishing, which is where I'm posing, perhaps as Laureen, trying to get somebody in her organization to, get some gift card and get me the numbers and stuff like that. So what's the best defense? So there's a couple of different ones. I'm going to go back to my deck here. So one thing is, remember the SLAM method of evaluating your emails. Okay, look at the sender. Is it really Jeff, or is it Jeff at New River Computing with like 2 G's at the end, right? Is someone impersonating me? Look at that sender's address. Links in an email, hover over the links. When you hover over a link, it should pop up with where that link goes. Is it legit in Microsoft or Rackspace? Or is it sending you somewhere else? Sender, links, attachments. Be very cautious with attachments from somebody that looks sketchy. It's fine to pick up the phone and give them a call. Say, hey, did Jeff Nosenzo, did you send me this PDF? Is that really you? Look at those attachments. Messaging. Does the message have misspellings? Is the grammar accurate? Does it sound like something Jeff Nosenzo might write me? So the SLAM method is one way of evaluating every email that comes into your inbox to see if it's a legit email. With the advent of AI and ChatGPT and similar tools, I expect that messaging to get a little bit better. There is some thought in our industry that those misspellings and poor grammar are intentional, meaning they're looking for perhaps somebody uneducated or perhaps somebody in a hurry, right, to just expunge that email, right? They're intentionally having those problems in the email, hoping that they're going to get the weak, the people that aren't trained, and the people that are in a huge giant hurry. And all of us can be vulnerable to being too much of a hurry, getting on the email before the first coffee is set in, right? It could happen to any of us in a weak moment. Sender, links, attachments, message. Additionally, there's some tools that techies like us can deploy that will help filter those messages for you. I'm not going to get deep into there, but this sometimes third-party services, sometimes we're a Microsoft partner and we live in the 365 space. There's different knobs and buttons we can press in the background to dial in how aggressive the filtering is. But the other thing about that phishing and sort of, I guess, some of the stuff Laureen was touching on is this training of our people. Right. So I super like to think of this technology as a three-legged stool. Right. We've got technology. We can throw all the technology at people all day long. Right. But if you don't have the processes in place to handle threats, to react to incidents, then everything's falling apart. And if your people aren't trained, if your people aren't aware of security and how to implement these best practices, that's another three-legged that you're going to fall right off that stool if your people aren't up to snuff on what's going on. There are inexpensive ways of automating that training. KnowBe4 is one. We use Breach Secure now. I don't know if Community Foundation's on that or not, Jessica. You may or may not be. But this automated training does about three or four different things for us. It fishes us, right? So it's going to send us mails looking like it's LinkedIn. It's going to find New River Computing employees or our clients' employees that might be vulnerable to clicking on a link they shouldn't. You click on that link and it takes you to a website with some training for these simulated phishing emails. Another thing it does is onboarding and annual training, about an hour long, and it goes through in an entertaining way these videos, and it gives you a test afterwards. It also gives us weekly micro trainings, 3 minutes long, 4 questions at the end, with the just hammering this home with repetition, all these security things we're talking about. And even for the most sophisticated IT folks among us, having that repetition, having it drilled into our heads makes sense to me. And so I'm sure Jeff's here to testify that one of those questions on the forum is going to be around regular training, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I'm glad we're talking about this because it kind of goes back to that piece where, what do you have at your office or your organization that can do these things? We're Brown Insurance. We're really good at insurance, but we are not good at IT. So, and Jeff can attest to that. We actually use
Selling
them.
yourself short, Jeff.
But that's the whole point, right? So, we know insurance great. We're not the strongest with IT. So what we do is we utilize New River Computing because that's what they do. That's the space they live in. And we're incredibly happy to partner with them because what do they allow? What do they give us? They give us these resources that we don't have in-house where I can say, gosh, I don't even know what those 5 letters mean. What does that mean? I can reach out to them. They can tell me. As far as the training, we do that training. I actually got one of those phishing emails this morning. It's great. And what it does is now we have a company culture that when we get those, I asked Tommy right next to me, I said, hey, Tom, did you get this email? Yeah, I got that email. Okay. So again, now we're asking each other about these emails that look a little weird, a little funky, but what is that doing? We've got that culture now so that when somebody else that is truly trying to get in tries to send us something, somebody's going to ask somebody else. And if they don't answer or they're not there, they're going to ask somebody else. We've got this good culture. And guess what? Some of these questions, some of these things that we're doing, they're going to be questions on these apps. And it's just like anything else. The more you can say, hey, yes, we do it, most likely the carrier is going to be like, these folks kind of get it. They know what they're doing. We'd rather write them, or we might lower that premium down because the likelihood of something happening to them is going to be a little bit lower. So we're going to give them a little more favorable pricing. Going back to those applications, it's not this huge, scary process. They're going to ask for just your general business information, name, address, that type of stuff. What is your revenue? How many employees? And there's going to be about 14 different questions. They're not that hard. But again, we have cyber insurance, and a lot of times when we're looking through our renewal, we go ahead and call over to New River Computing saying, hey, I don't know, do we have this? And they help us answer some of these questions. Again, because we don't have that in-house resource or person that is an IT professional and knows about everything. So I would say it's important if you can, if you don't have that IT group or department within your organization, partner with someone that can help you, like a New River Computing, because it'll help save you. Certainly, it'll save you money overall. It'll save you time on these applications, and it will help you become a stronger, more defensive player in that cyber world.
It certainly helps manage your risk, right? And that's one of the things I think about this is managing your risk. What is your organization's risk? Well, if you're that car repair place, over on the other side of town that pretty much only accepts cash, maybe they don't have a great deal of risk. Whereas if you are a community health center of the New River Valley, you have considerable risk considering the kind of information they keep, right? So I think that our application from Brown Insurance for our cyber reliability was a little bit more than 14 questions because they're aware of what we do. They want us to demonstrate that we're doing all these things, which we do. So great stuff. Thanks, Jeff. So I think that Dino was also talking about best practices for safety and security. I think we covered some of that. B didn't have anything specific. Jessica, basics, MFA, renewals and denials. Laura was talking about identity protection. I don't feel like I covered that as well. Oh, Scott's got his hand up. Scott.
Yeah, talking about the money issue. I know this is all over the realm of what size organization, but talking about small nonprofits, what kind of number for coverage is in the realm of what would be asked? Because I would imagine someone would say it's 300 a year and then there's 5,000 a year. What could be expected?
Sure, sure. Good question. And it's kind of a tough answer because it's all going to depend on, what is that organization? What do they have? What are they doing? And how much coverage are they wanting? The biggest thing I would say is remember, just to get an indication as to what that cyber insurance is free. There's no cost to that. It doesn't cost you a thing. And like when I was talking about that application, the general just start application, just to kind of get an idea, is that 14 question deal. Takes, probably maybe 3 minutes to complete. And so then we can shoot it out. We'll have an indication right away. Generally speaking, if it's something that can be tagged on to your policy and it's just the bare basics, again, it's going to be all kind of generated off of revenue and what you're doing. But yeah, I mean, I would say $400 or cheaper for the year. Again, as you start going into more robust coverages, higher limits, that type of thing, it can get pretty high. But for just ballparking it, again, if I were to group everybody together and say, hey, what would it cost for some type of nonprofit organization that's not doing anything like too crazy out there with a lot of information? I mean, you would, if you're looking for really robust coverage, maybe $4,000 or less for the year, but that's a super conservative number. And I would imagine that we could probably find something more affordable. But again, it just goes back to what kind of coverage you have and where your risks really lie. I know that doesn't really answer the question. Probably
No. And when you answered kind of another question I had, which is, I mean, would you work through your existing insurance company to get this kind of policy?
Yeah, you would probably work more so through your existing agent or agency that you're working through. Some carriers do offer some cyber coverage. Some carriers don't offer any. And so from that standpoint, you might have like a general liability policy, then you would have a separate policy in place for your cyber liability or cyber insurance, if you can't tag it on to what you currently have.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Thanks, Jeff. And thinking about the information we have on our computers, and I guarantee everybody here has got personally identifying information on their computer about themselves and probably about others. If you have employees, you probably have things like SSNs. You have a tax ID of your organization. You might have some medical stuff that might be HIPAA covered regarding your employees on your computer. So we all have this personal identifying information, even though there may not be a ton of it, it's there. So, please protect yourselves. Jamie asked about MFA. Hopefully we got that question answered. Laura was asking about identity protection, but I didn't quite understand the question. So maybe you could ask it again, Laura.
Yeah, I was recently hacked through my own health insurance. And so they sent out a message saying that, our data has been breached and all that, and they offered us IDX protection. And so and it's free for a year. But when, I go into my IDX report, it tells me that, my LinkedIn has been hacked, but it certainly didn't tell me that an entity was trying to open a credit card in my name. It was my bank accounts that told me that a credit card was being opened in my name, and that wasn't on my IDX report. So I was wondering what the heck identity protection is supposed to. Is it supposed to stop attacks, or is it supposed to just tell me about it? Or what is identity protection exactly?
Okay, I totally get the question now. Thank you. I'm not so knowledgeable about how that works in the background. I think that Experian is one of those, like it's a credit monitoring agency.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that it's not perfect, right? Just like an antivirus, right? It's not going to protect you 100%. It's a spam filter, right? It's not going to catch everything. It's going to catch most stuff. Jamie, you have your hand up, sir.
Yeah, just on that topic, I just you get a free credit report every year. But at freecreditreport.com, I think that's it's something along those lines, Experian. And I just checked mine, but I hadn't done it in several years. But that's a good thing to do, put on your calendar to do on an annual basis.
Good idea.
With the number of breaches out there, I probably could have perpetual 1 year free credit monitoring because there's so many out there. It just
That's
happens
right.
all
Yeah,
the
they do
time.
that.
Mhm.
I can
But
touch base a little bit on that identity theft just real quickly, if you don't mind.
great.
Yeah, I think to answer the question, most of those like ID Shield, or I forget there was another one that's out there. Most of those are designed to make you aware of a potential breach. They're not designed to stop one. So they would be kind of like, I think what yours did. Maybe you logged in there and you saw and it says, yeah, your LinkedIn has been hacked, or this password is showing up on the dark web. It's there to just alert you that in all their searching and back end IT cool stuff, features, matrix thing, they're saying, hey, we found some of your information. Now you're aware of it. And then now it's kind of more up to you to say, oh gosh, okay, I need to go into that account, change that password, shut that card down, that type of thing.
Thank you. I'm going to toss a link into chat here if I can figure out how to do it. I'm going to send it to everyone. It's a site called Have I Been Pwned? It's totally legit. You can safely click on that link. But what you can do is put your email address in there and click on the pwned question mark, and it will, search. It's constantly searching that dark web for username password combinations. So usernames are most often email addresses, and so you can see by doing that. Let me see if I've been pwned. Can you all see my screen still?
Mhm.
What does pwned mean? PWN.
It's like elite hacker
Gotta
speak
stay up
for
on the lingo
owned.
here.
Yeah, I know. It's just sort of a I have no idea where it came from in the bowels of the internet, but it basically means, have I been owned? Have I been had? Have I been hacked?
Okay.
Jeff at newrivercomputing.com. Guarantee you I'm going to be there. Oh no, 17 data breaches and found no pastes.
I've been pwned too. What do we do now?
Well, again, with this dark web stuff, password reuse. If I can see that Laura has logged into LinkedIn with this password, well, maybe she uses that on Facebook too. Maybe she uses that at her bank, right? So again, with this is just a tool to let you know where you may have been breached and who can, maybe buy my credentials on the dark web. And people do buy and sell that stuff. So that's just one tool that you can use to see if you've been hacked. And chances are, if you've been around for 5 years on the internet, you're going to be there. Your credentials are out there.
It suggests using 1Password. Is that the one you were talking about?
1Password is a reasonable choice.
Okay.
What are you guys switching to? Are you comfortable sharing that?
Absolutely. We are looking at 2 different ones, and one is NordPass. It's the same folks, I gather, that do NordVPN.
Okay.
And the other one is Keeper. I suspect NordPass is available for general consumption. I'm not sure Keeper is. That may be only for people like us. Thank you.
Jeff, I think there was a question in the chat about what's the best MFA.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, thanks. I think the gold standard is going to be these tokens.
Okay. So YubiKeys.
YubiKey is what I would think would be the best.
Do you carry that on your keychain?
I do, because if I've lost my keys, which happens several times a day, and the reason why, there's no SIM to hack here, right? There's no persistent cookie on my system that somebody could steal if they were able to gain access to my session. So that's the best. Is it, perfect? No, you got to remember to have the thing. And if I lost it, I'd have to go get Alex to fix it for me or whatever. However, phone's better than nothing. Please use something. I don't know that a YubiKey is something that, Joe on the streets, Johnny in the corner is going to want to deal with. But sure is easy to get a text code, and that's better than nothing. Thank you for that one. Thanks for noticing that, Jeff. I didn't see it in chat.
So guys, we're nearing the end of our time. If there's any kind of last minute questions or advice you want to give everybody as we wrap up.
Okay, yes. Let me hit real quickly one thing on my deck, if I can find it. Yeah, 5-question test. Do you have MFA for all email and sensitive information? Do you have backups, and are they working? Do you have up-to-date active antivirus installed on all computers? Do you have a written documented breach response plan? And do you have up-to-date active firewall technology? Let's not worry about the last one. Many nonprofits are not going to be able to afford that kind of a firewall. But yeah, so do you have MFA? Do you get prompted from time to time? Do you have backups? Do you test them? Go in there and restore something. And there's tons of great backup products out there that are cheap, like Carbonite, right? Inexpensive, great protection. Up-to-date antivirus, right? Open look on all the computers that you have accountability for. Microsoft Defender is now the gold standard when it came to antivirus. It used to be Midland, it was great. Then Microsoft dumped billions into their security posture. And it's going to be the best out there. It's free. There's a Mac agent if you are one of those kinds of people. Please do that. Written documented breach response plan. Templates exist out there on the internet that you can get for free and adapt to your specific needs. Like, who do I need to contact? My lawyer. Please be that first person, get that attorney-client privilege going. The second one might be contact an agent like Jeff Nosenzo or his group there to fire off, for our instance, our coverage. So those are all super important things. Remember the SLAM method, please. We talked about that. Sender links, attachment, message. Super nice mnemonic. So those are a few of the things, and happy to share these decks, which have a ton more information that may not be as valuable without context. Jeff, what do you got? Go.
Man, I'll tell you, you hit it right there. I mean, I think if you can have those things or answer yes to those things, you'll be able to get coverage for sure. I just would again scream out MFA, MFA, MFA. I know people either get tired of it, they don't like it, they think it's annoying. Well, I can guarantee you it's a lot less annoying than when you get hacked.
Then responding to breach.
Yeah.
I've got one last question. How do you deal with insider threats if the threat is coming from within, not from outside?
Great question. So that gets into being a lot more challenging. That you probably need pros involved in your environment to be able to detect and respond to those threats. Microsoft, if you're living in that space, does have some built-in tools regarding data loss prevention. But detecting those, encountering insider threats is a big, scary thing. And I don't have a lot to speak to other than you probably need to get some pros involved in your environment.
And I think there was one more question just got added to the chat about, is OneDrive classified as a backup? I would say yes. I'll leave it to you.
Microsoft calls it a backup. So OneDrive at the current time is going to default to wanting to back up your desktop, docs, and pics. What does that mean? Okay, it means that it's going to grab everything in those locations that it can and put it on the cloud. It's going to live on 3 different servers in 2 physically different locations. It's going to have extensive version history on all those files. Is it a backup? I might argue it's not a backup. It's certainly better than not having a backup, but it is online, right? So it's not like having a backup that nobody can touch, right? It's probably possible for me to, as a bad actor, to access those files and encrypt them for you where you wouldn't have access, and you'd have to pay me some Bitcoin to get access to them. So it's, in that sense, it's not something somewhere else that once that event has happened to you, that our team can't like go dive into your backups and restore back over your OneDrive. That may be more challenging.
So a flash drive instead?
All of that, well, I'm arguing the verbiage around that, I think, Jamie. I am comfortable with OneDrive being a very safe way of storing my information. For reasons that aren't germane to your particular question, we have backups of all of our workstations at New River Computing, but that's a different compliance regime we're addressing there. But I would think that for a generic user living in 365 or living in Google is going to put you with a leg up with folks that are just backing stuff up onto flash drives. I mean, the danger with a flash drive is you lose that thing. Chances are, unless it's BitLockered, I can stick it in my computer and see everything.
Gotcha.
All right. It's really important to have disks and media encrypted with keys that you are aware of, perhaps have locked and encrypt, or leave us accountable for keeping those. That's hard drives. Macs are encrypted by default. Windows, not so much. You got to use BitLocker. All of those little thumb drives and USB drives out there are generally not encrypted. And again, that's it's a surface area for exfiltrating data if I can get a hold of one of those.
All right.
And I might add on that thumb drive too. I would just argue, how consistently are you then going to be backing up that information? Like, are you regimentally every week going in there?
We're all
saying,
like
hey,
that, James.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
Sorry for taking us over, Jess.
Oh, that's okay. These are good questions. So we are at the end of our time. So I just wanted to thank everybody for being here, and especially Jeff Nosenzo and Jeff Wynn. Cannot recommend them highly enough. And Jeff Wynn said before as well that if you've got questions, New River Computing works with a lot of nonprofits. And so it's a good resource, as is Brown Insurance as well. So just take some time if you have specific questions to reach out to them. We will be putting this recording, and then Jeff, if you would send me whatever slides you showed today, we can put those up on our website as well, and that way folks have access to those. And if we feel like we want to do something more in depth or do another session like this, we certainly can, because this was great conversation.
Yeah, this would be a great annual thing to do.
Yes, yeah, and some good training.
I will take any opportunity to speak on this matter at
Yeah.
any length. So if you really want to get sick of me, invite me to come talk to you more.
Yeah,
All right, I'll
we
take
don't
you
get
up
sick
on
of you,
that.
Jeff. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Keep an eye out for more information on upcoming sessions as well as the recording of this. And again, just this thanks to our two Jeffs today for some great information. Really appreciate your taking the time this morning and all the work that you all do to support a lot of nonprofits in our community. We really appreciate it.